again, my pride and joy, pride, of course, because of the Lions. And I thank you for being here. We have more guest speakers Tuesday and Wednesday, both at 10 a.m. and 12 noon Mountain Time. Today, I am so blessed to have Anita La Pierre here today. And she just has an amazing life and amazing stories. And let me give you a little bit of her introduction. She actually has homeless hygiene bags. It's an outreach that she does. And Be Happy, Be Kind is not a business. It is a self-inspired, and it's created by her, Anita, to help spread compassion to people in need. Such a worthy cause, too. She says, during a long prayer time with God at the beginning of the pandemic 2 years ago, I wanted to reach out to others during this difficult time, especially offering my help to the growing homeless, runaway, and foster children population in my home city of Albuquerque, which I had represented in my past. And she's still active today as an advocate for all three. So let's talk a little bit about all three at first.
All right. Where would you like to start?
Wherever you want to go. Just go 1, 2, 3. That's fine.
Well, you did an excellent job, and thank you so much for having me on here, LS. And what a great introduction, because that's exactly what I stand for. So I am so blessed to have a merciful heart that God gifted me. And, you know, as you had said, that I have represented homeless, runaway, and foster children. So this is my way of getting back to them, giving them, you know, everything I can that is possible with the hygiene bags. And when I started this, of course, we all were wearing masks and, you know, soaking our almost bodies with hand sanitizer. So I include those. I still do to this day, but I also include things like toothbrush, toothpaste, Band-Aids, you know, so many of them that I come across. These people have cuts on their hands, and not knowing really, you know, I started noticing at the beginning of this 2 years ago that those cuts are caused from them scrambling around and going through trash cans and things, not only to eat, which is sad, but also to make homemade shacks, and they were getting cut up. So I've included a couple of little medical things to help them prevent infections. And then also, as I was doing this, young girls started appearing out of cracks, literally between buildings, and they saw that I had bags in my hands and I was walking. And so, of course, they're curious. They came up, and through that, I started providing them with hairbrushes, combs, maxi pads, tampons, things like that, you know, it's really hard for them to go get by if they don't seek the help at these homeless shelters and things. And I'm afraid that a lot of people do not, because in talking with them, they're afraid that they're going to be apprehended and things like that. So that's kind of came my way. Another thing I do is also the foster child program, because I was one from the age of 13 to 17 after I was taken away from my home with abusive parents. And this is something that I write about, how I overcame that and developed resilience and strength. And I call it my 3 R's, LS, which is recovery, redemption, and resilience. Because with those 3 things, you can get through anything with the faith of God that I have. I've always had a great relationship with the Lord, but he is just shining through me through all of the wonderful advocacies that I've created, such as the ones I just told you about.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow, that's great. So not only do you have had the advocacies that you do, but you're also an author. So tell us a little bit about your book. Do you have more than one book?
Yes, I do. I actually had Women Who Shine, which is a collaboration with myself and 29 other women that, like myself, you know, we all face adversities throughout our life. It's how we come out of them and rise above from it. So we got together and we all did a chapter each in Women Who Shine that is available right now on Amazon. I'm so proud to say that The first day it was out, it became a #1 international bestseller. So yay.
Awesome.
And yeah, so if any of you listeners out there would like to get your copy of Women in Shine, you can go on to Amazon. So I'm currently writing right now, and I'm in the editing phase of not only one book, but 2 books. So they will both be out. We're just praying in July. And so the one that I'm working on right now, and I was on my computer earlier, is called The Art of Forgiveness. So
Wow.
there's different stages of forgiveness. So I kind of go through mine, but it also is a collaboration of co-authors. And so that one is The Art of Forgiveness. Now that also will be available on Amazon. So we're finishing up the final touches. The next one that I have is called Words of Wisdom. That is from, believe it or not, 59 other women from all over the world that have come together, such as I, to just give, words of wisdom to others, our readers, whether it be men or women, that, mine is called Silver Linings. So there's a little hint, LS. So I believe that there is a silver lining in everything, whether it's good or bad. So I share a little bit of a story of how one of my silver linings came possible. So there you go. It's a little preview.
Awesome. Awesome. That's wonderful. I'll have to get the links and put in here for you. But, oh, well, good. Let's see. We talked also, oh, I know. We have to talk about this. Anita won a new sports car on the Price is Right show with Bob Barker playing Let It Roll. So tell us a little bit about that. That's kind of a fun fact.
Yeah, and it was 2006, LS, but I'll tell you what, it still brings a smile to not only my face, but my heart, because I was so blessed to be able to meet the Bob Barker 3 weeks before he retired. And he just fell in love with my name because one of his maids was named Anita, but he called me Anita, and I let him. That's a name that I was brought up with, and I chose to turn it to Anita. But I was on the show. I was there. I used to own a catering company, so I was there to taste some food in LA, and a bunch of us decided, let's go see Bob. So by the grace of God and doing things for others, if you do good for others, they will come back. And that's a testimony. But anyway, I played the game, let it roll. And at one time, Bob said to me, all right, Anita, you just won $4,000. Do you want to quit here? Or would you like to try for a car? Well, they had some people that worked for CBS that were prompting everybody in the audience to say, let it roll, let it roll. So I did a little thing with my hands and said, let it roll. And I rolled a car. So I won a 2006 Chevy Cobalt sports car that day.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing. How fun.
Yeah.
How fun. Oh, good, good, good. So let's see. Okay, right now, reach out part of your healing process. Okay. All right. So let's talk. It says you'd like to share a little bit about your recovery story and your why. That's a really good thing to do. So let's talk about that.
Okay, a lot of people,
recovery from what?
Yes, and a lot of people ask me if they haven't read or they come across me. I'm also a motivational speaker. So with COVID, I've been graced to speak at some churches, but not really live audiences yet until I go to Niagara. So
That's
basically, yes, which is already Friday coming up. So basically they asked me, so what did you recover from and how did you recover? So as I mentioned, I was a foster child. I was taken away from my home when I was 12 years old and placed into the foster system due to neglect and physical and sexual abuse by both parents who had many, many excuses of why they did that for me. And I'm going to say this without crying because it still, cries in my heart. Although I am recovered, it's just something you can forget, but you can't forget. But it became my story because through that, I was placed in a foster home. And then after that, I got married at 17 years old. And the reason why I got married at 17 was to be released from the system. It was not good in the 70s. I felt like I was a paycheck. So I got married, had kids really young, but then I came in with him in the arms of another abuser, another physical domestic violence abuser. So I went on, thankfully to divorce him and protect the children and I. But then I just kept falling into more hands of domestic violence, one after another, until I finally said stop. I pushed the restart button and said, you know what, you're going to get married one last time, and it's going to be to you. You're going to put yourself first. And so I've developed a plan, LS, and it has brought me to where today I have an alter ego, and it is called the Warrior Women. And ladies, if you would go on to my page, Kindred Spirits Warrior Women community page on Facebook, you can read a little bit about that story of how I became that Warrior Woman. And then also, it's a great community for compassion and encouragement and inspiration. And not only do I put my own affirmations that I write in poetry, but I also share others. So that all comes link to link with my recovery story. Is where there's a will, there's a way. That's a huge statement that I live by today. I am blessed to talk about that way and that will to many, many people, but God just places people in front of me individually that I can kind of share because, you see, I have a pretty smile, right?
Yes.
So I want to tell you that I've often referred myself as if I was a real actress, I would have lots and lots of Oscars because I became the best actress around because I hid so much of these terrible traumatic secrets behind this big smile. And no one would really see it unless I allowed them to it, or I was in my car or my room. So I put my best actress sash away, and I accept myself the way I am today. So that is a little bit about my recovery story. I don't want to tell you all of it because it's coming out in the books. So stay tuned.
Nice. Yeah, you bring up a really good point that and in fact, I had somebody say this to me this last week, is when you're in a situation, no matter what the situation is, you get out of it, you don't want to go back in, but you end up in a similar situation again. And then again, the question was brought to me, it's like, why do I keep doing this? I think I'm finally getting change. I think I'm finally getting into something that's good. It starts out great. And then somehow I find out I'm in not the same situation, but a similar situation. And I kind of know a few things about that, but I want to hear what you have to say to somebody who is asking a question like that. Why do they keep
doing it? Well, I'll tell you what, again, I could have won the best actress for why did I do it? First of all, I want to say that there is a way to stop, and the way to stop is basically stop asking yourself why, and especially stop asking God why. What I've learned is that there is a plan for your life, and unfortunately bad things happen. That's what builds us to be strong, wise, and then also self-protected, because that was something I wasn't. But what I would say to this person that asked me is that I would say that deep inside, you are a real person, a loving person, and you do not deserve to be treated that way. So once you learn your self-worth and your ability that you have, that you're given to change situations, you can. Emphasis is on you can.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that I had learned over the years is you get into a situation because whether you realize it or not, it's comfortable. It's what you know. It's what you've always known. And so you kind of need to get into not an uncomfortable situation, but in something that's uncomfortable in the way as this is very different. Yeah, that's you brought up a point and I just I lost
Well,
it that fast.
yeah, I totally agree with you, sis, is that basically in one of my books and in a lot of my talks is that what you just said is very, very important. Sometimes we get comfortable what we're used to. Okay. Not saying that abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence is any way comfortable, but sometimes we seek a magnet. I want to tell you a little quick story.
Okay.
I've been married a few times. A few times, I'm going to say, and I'm honest, I'm a very honest person. And I want you to know a little bit more about Anita is that I went from arm to arm with abusive men, but I had children. So I was not going to allow myself to live with them. And so I basically got married very fast in every relationship. But what became was I was used to it. You know what I mean? Whether it was verbally, I'm ugly, you're not good enough. That's the stuff that I've already heard since I was a child. So it was just something that, I didn't want to adapt to, but I would. But I always, because of the merciful heart, always gave them a chance to apologize. Now, for a long time, I didn't understand forgiveness, and that will come out in one of my books, is that you have to total understand what forgiveness means. But the first one that you have to forgive is yourself. And the reason being is that we place blame on our minds, our hearts, our bodies, everything that, we somehow think that it was our fault. It is not our fault. And so my answer to you with that is that I was used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't even realize that it's a comfort to us. It's like, how can anything so awful be a comfort to us? You start hearing these things, and even though you say, well, that wasn't very nice, or why did you say that? We just kind of go on and don't do anything about it, and then there's always the lonely factor. I don't want to be alone. It's worse being alone than being treated this way. And there's to combat that. That's a tough one. How do you fight being lonely? Now, you mentioned one thing. You married yourself. You combated that loneliness. Maybe if you can, if you feel comfortable enough, tell us a little bit. Did you have loneliness not having a husband anymore?
Yes. Although these men in my past were abusive, they also was seen as protectors. First of all, just a simple thing like, them sleeping closer to the door in case somebody breaks in, was a comfort. For me, almost 3 years of being by myself, that, I don't think I slept much. I was unarmed. I don't believe in weapons. So basically, I was a night watch person, so I didn't get much sleep. So yes, when I did have a man, I felt like even though they hurt me in many ways, they were my protector. I already know that God is there covering the whole room. But when it's physical right next to you, then that's different. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So how do you said for 3 years you didn't get any sleep. What was the pivot point to where it's like, God is my protector. I don't have to be afraid. You know, what man can do to me is nothing compared to what God is doing for me, in me, and with me right now. So how do you pivot that little transition from I don't really have to be afraid to I do need to be careful and I do need to protect, but I don't have to live in fear?
Well, that's an also easy answer. And that basically that's when I decided to be married to myself and recognize that all I need is one huge protector, and his name is Jesus Christ. Yes, he's not going to be in the room. No, he's not going to beat up the robber or the sexual assaulter or anything like that. But just the peace that I had that he was in the room. So it's kind of recognizing that I was not alone. I was not alone. I became more cautious through all of that. I became more cautious. I made a list that I made sure I checked the doors, checked the windows. It was like a to-do list before I went to sleep. Now, after I did that, probably like 6 times now, that came from a counselor. So I just
Okay.
wanted to tell you that protective list was, it's a checklist before you go to sleep, just so you know in your mind that you have done what you can to be safe. And then I also had not only one dog, but I got a second dog that was a barker. So there's the pivot, but all of this came to, as you say, a pivot time, a pivot moment. I call it my life-changing wake up. And what that was is that my last person I had married, Mr. Six, was very abusive, very abusive. And after so much and him laying his hands on my throat saying, you could die now, I decided I can't put my own hands on my neck. I can't threaten me. And so the person that was going to keep me the safest besides God was Anita.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. So, you said you have 3 kids?
I have
Yeah.
3 children. They all live in Denver, which is ironic because I'm in Albuquerque, and I have lived in Denver to be close as they started getting married and having kids, but I also have bad knees, so I said, I'm going back home. So I have
One.
I have 3 amazing children and 7 grandchildren that I just am so grateful to God and to my children who have become great parents and great role models to the kids. And, in many ways, when I self-doubted myself or something, I look at the kids and I look at the grandkids and go, wow, because I actually see myself coming out of the kids when they speak to their kids. So, those are years that I blocked out for many, many years. And kind of, I hate to say this, LS, is that I was focusing more on the bad and not the good. So whenever I'm around the kids and their kids, it's just so joyous, so blessed.
Awesome. And that's really good to hear because I know, for a lot of parents, single parents who have left that, they always wonder about their kids. Are my kids going to be okay? Are they going to grow up, thinking about all of this? Are they going to do that to their kids, to their spouse? What is their life going to be when they grow up? And I think seeing you change and grow and not accept it anymore, that gives them the freedom to say, okay, I don't have to accept it anymore either, that I'm free to be the person I want to be. I don't have to be that person. So
Yes, and
yeah, it's a big change. You're getting yourself out. Sometimes all you're doing is just surviving. You're just living each day, making sure the kids take care of, getting their fed, going to school and all of this, and everything's just a blur. You don't really remember stuff. And then now you're out on your own. You've kind of going through the blur again because now it's all your responsibility. You have to find the babysitters, you have to take care of everything, and it is very tough. I really feel for single parents out there, but it is possible. Just because you're single doesn't mean you're a bad parent. Don't ever think that you're a bad parent because you don't have a spouse there with you. Um, but there are ways that you can now help your kids get better, you get better, you work together at it. So this is all nice. It seems like all roses and sunshine. Tell us, after you've left, maybe a couple of difficulties that you had to overcome, if
some of
that's
the
okay.
okay. So you're asking me what is a couple of difficulties I had to overcome?
Yeah, once you were on your own, you're a mom now, you've got kids to take care of. So let's bring it back to maybe some single moms, even single dads that are having to
Well,
adjust.
yeah, and that comes in different phases as the kids age. It's a different things of finding babysitters to being able to attend their sports activities and things like that. So my number one difficulty, which is very, very common with a single person, a single mother, is finances.
Mhm.
So the bills aren't going to pay themselves. So when the kids go to school, that's when you try to work, and you're tired, you're working. In my case, I was an event planner. That is a very stressful job, but rewarding. But I'd come home and I still have to make dinner. I still have to do homework. So not only was it a financial difficulty, but it was also a time management time, because those little kids are important too. It's not their fault that you are a single mother and they don't have a dad, and you have to work so many hours to put food on the table and pay the rent. So my two difficulties would definitely be financial, and then also time management for them.
Right, right. Yeah. So how did you find time for yourself doing all of this? Or did you find time for yourself?
Okay, another good question. No, I look back, and to this day, I laugh when I open up my drawers and stuff and see underwear and bra that I've had for 20 plus years, because what you do is you put your kids first, and you have to buy them the bra and underwears and the socks and the sports outfits and stuff like that. So mom got kind of pushed aside, and my kids do recognize that now. We've had some really long talks. They saw the frustration, and I'm sad for that they had to see, the weak side of their mom. But it is what it is. And so what I say is that, I never had my first massage. I went on a trip for sales at 47 years old. I never had a massage. I'd never gone to go get my nails or a pedicure, things like that, And so once I did, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not addicted to anything, but I am addicted to pampering myself.
Good. You deserve it.
Yeah.
And you said you're really sad about what they had to see, but do you think that maybe seeing what you went through made them make sure that that didn't happen to their home? So even though
Yes.
it may have been tough, it was actually a good thing for them to see firsthand and make themselves stronger.
Yes, and we all go through life lessons, and I believe not only did I learn a lot of things through my struggles and my curveballs of life, but my kids did too, because we were a team, the four of us. And so what I went through, they went through, just not as, behind closed doors being beat up or,
Yeah.
cheated on. They didn't see that. I would try to keep some of that away from them, but they held a lot of the precautions of that, because of, I didn't sleep all night. I'm hiding a black eye, things like that. And so what it's learned that in their relationships, their three relationships, is that it kind of gave them a life lesson of, especially for my son, who has many, unfortunately, anger traits from his dad. And I believe that comes from them as little children witnessing me being flown across the room or things like that. That what David has learned is that he has learned that he does not want to be like his father. So he has a stopping point, and I'm so proud of him. And it's called Take a Walk. And this is something that he had to learn through anger management. But I think his biggest lesson is that he is in control. He is in control. He is the one that decides, yeah, marriages aren't perfect, relationships aren't perfect. You're going to want to do something one way, and the wife or husband's going to do the other way. But it's how you handle it, and it's how you come together as a team of, spouses or girlfriends, that the way you're going to handle it. So I'm very proud of my son and my daughters for how they have taken what they have seen from mom and dad, that's not even part of their life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I gave a talk on Saturday about perspective and how perspective is actually growth and maturity, and what I've been learning these last few months, especially going to other speakers and learning more about this, is that growth is uncomfortable. Growth is when things are happening, you're making decisions on how to handle it gracefully, and knowing when to say, okay, so there's a big rock in the road. You know, do I just stop and stare at the rock and say, woe is me, I can't go any further? Do I try to find tools to move the rock? Do I just walk around the rock? You know, what do you do on that point? But whatever you're doing, you're growing, and you're growing into that maturity that, can't remember his name. I want to say Oswald. but I don't think that's the right one. Might be Rick Warren is talking about you're always growing towards maturity. Maturity is when you finally get to the end of your life, and without growth, without the love in the growth, it just, you're stunted. You don't do anything. And that's real important, and then that's where your perspective comes in. It's like, okay, this is a tough thing that's going on, but it's a way for me to grow. It's a challenge I'm going to overcome. Maybe what I learned from it, I can share with somebody else, or I can pass on to like my kids or friends or family. So if they start to get to something like this, they can recognize it and then not have to freak out about it or have something devastating happen, because now they have the tools to make a choice that's going to be good for them. So that was a really good thing to bring up, and our time is up already. 2 minutes left. So do you have any closing thoughts for our?
Well, I just wanted to tell you that's one of my favorite affirmation, and it is Rick Warren, by the way. So
Okay.
the thing is that, so good for you. And so my closing thought is, my words of wisdom to any of you watching today is that you are not alone. You are not alone. And
Yes.
so many of us, we're slow learners at that, and that you don't have to take it all on yourself. You have wonderful people like LS and myself, and so many avenues and platforms out there on Facebook that you can outreach to. And I think that's my mission in life is that I'm going to tell all my dirty secrets, that they're going to turn around and they're going to not only heal myself, which they are every day, but they're going to heal as many people, I pray, that hears or reads what I have to say and how I survived through my journey.
That's awesome. Okay, so look for her books. You can reach her if you want to donate to the outreach that she has. It's anitasfoods@aol.com through PayPal. If you need to contact her, it's La Pierre Anita 1@gmail.com. And if you want to contact me or be a speaker on Roaring Like Lions Live, it's writersToReaders.com is my website. And I'm just so thankful that you're here. Thank you, Anita, for being here today. I wish you all the best and a safe journey for you as you go to Niagara and you get to speak. I'm so excited to hear about that. And I just really want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity and your kindness. And, I just feel like we're kindred spirits together. LS, I'm so thankful that you came in my life.
Oh, I'm thankful for you too. And I'm thank you for my pride and joy that you're here today, that you're watching the replay, and come back again. And thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.